Hi, this is Amie at the Virtual Planetarium at Raritan Valley Community College. Let's take a look at some of the things we can see in the sky for the week of November 1st. I'll start with our upcoming moon phases. We have a last quarter moon on November 8th, a new moon on November 15th, and a first quarter moon on November 21st. Now, if you want to look up moon phases, let me show you where you can do that. One website that I use frequently is called timeanddate.com. So we can go to this black bar at the top where it says sun and moon and go down to moon phases. And then you may need to search for your town. So let's search for Branchburg. Well, I'll search for Branchburg because that's where RVCC is located. And then we've got the current moon phase and the upcoming moon phases. And then below that are the other moon phases for this year, or you can choose a different year if you'd like to. Well, what about sunrise and sunset times? Well, you can click on sunrise and sunset, or go to sun and moon to sun calculator. And again, you may need to put in your city. Branchburg, great. And we've got a cool sun graph, which I think is really neat. And I wanted to introduce you to it. So this sun graph shows us the amount of daylight and nighttime and twilight hours that we have throughout the year. You can see there's more, the light blue area is daylight hours, the gradients are twilight, and the dark areas are nighttime. So you can see we have the most number of daylight hours, the most amount of light blue in June. You can see dates, months at the bottom. So June. And then the least number of daylight hours in December and January. The most number of nighttime hours there. So you can move the bar from side to side. And you may also notice that there's a little pink box on the bottom left on the next chart that shows what date you're looking at. So let's pick a date this week. Let's go to, say, November 5th. Click on the chart, and then that locks the bar in place so that you can look at the information below. And here you've got timings and the number of hours for nighttime, the different twilights, and daylight. So that's very cool to look at. And then below that is another chart listing the sunrise and sunset times. And you'll notice that the sun is rising about a minute later each day, and it's setting about a minute earlier each day. So we are having fewer daylight minutes or daylight hours each day. So the number of hours are shrinking, and our nighttime hours are increasing. I look forward to all that reversing and daylight hours increasing after the winter solstice. All right, so let's talk about some other news. This week we've got the 20th anniversary of the International Space Station having continuous human occupation. And so November 2nd marks that date for 20 years of continuous human occupation of the International Space Station. Over 230 astronauts from all over the world have lived and worked here. In this unparalleled orbital laboratory, thousands of groundbreaking scientific experiments have led to discoveries unachievable here on Earth. Well, it's kind of funny to call it groundbreaking when they're not doing it here on the ground. Anyway, from 250 miles up, an unbroken chain of residents have shared their view and their research with those of us here on Earth. The ISS, which orbits Earth at about 17,500 miles per hour, or 5 miles per second, takes about 90 minutes to complete one orbit around our planet. It makes 16 orbits a day and is visible from many locations on the ground as sunlight reflects off its surface. To observers on the ground, the ISS looks like a bright, moving star or like an airplane with no blinking lights. You can check heavens-above.com for visible passes. All right, now that daylight savings time has ended, the sun is setting an hour earlier than it was last week. That means you can start looking for the planets and stars earlier in the evening. I have the sky set for 6 p.m. right now, and we can already see Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter is very, very bright. It's about magnitude minus 2.2. Saturn is shining at a respectable magnitude 0.6, but it just doesn't look as bright because it's so close to super bright Jupiter. And then we also have Mars in our east-southeast sky after sunset. So you can totally find these two planets, or these three planets, really. Now let's look in the northern sky. We're looking north because the letter N is right here. One of our favorite easy-to-find constellations is the Great Bear, with the Big Dipper inside of it. I said easy to find, but it's not so easy to find in November. It skims the northern horizon during the evening hours. The Micmac, an indigenous First Nations people living in southeastern Canada, also saw a bear in these stars. Their stories say that the celestial bear on the horizon represents the earthly bears returning to their dens for the start of hibernation season. Corona Borealis, the northern crown, represents the bear's den. This story is a circular one because the bear circles the pole star over the course of the year. The Micmac legend says that the bear is the 4 stars in the bowl of the Dipper. She is followed by 7 hunters. The 3 stars in the handle of the Dipper are robin, chickadee, and moose bird. 4 of the stars in Boötes are passenger pigeon, blue jay, owl, and saw-wheat owl. In the spring, the bear emerges from the den. The 7 hunters chase the bear all spring and summer. In autumn, some of the hunters lose the trail as their stars fall below the horizon. Robin, represented by the star closest to the bear, shoots the bear with his bow and arrow. Covered in bear's blood, Robin flies to a maple tree and shakes. The maple tree turns red with the blood, and that is why all maples turn red at this time of year, and why Robin's breast is red. After Robin kills the bear, Chickadee arrives with his cooking pot, Mizar and Alcor. The 2 hunters carve off some of the meat and cook it. As they prepare to eat, Moosebird shows up for his share. This works so well for him that he continues to show up at the last minute to take food whenever animals are hunted. His Micmac name means, "he who comes at the last minute." During the winter, the skeleton of bear lies on her back, and her spirit stays invisible until the spring, when a new bear with the same spirit emerges and the hunt begins again. Thus, organic life begins anew, but spirit lives on forever. Well, that's our sky for this week. Thanks for joining me in our virtual planetarium. Please subscribe to our channel and like our video, and we look forward to seeing you at the real planetarium in the future. Until then, keep looking up.